Welcome to the Configure Price Quote Overview from Novus CPQ Consulting. My name is Frank Sohn and I'm the founder of Novus CPQ. The reason we wanted to do this overview is to give you an idea what CPQ is, what the benefits are, how it fits into your existing system landscape with CRM and ERP systems, and also provide you an overview of the vendors that are currently available, and we will have around 30 of them at the end. So that should give you a good feeling for what CPQ is, if you need it, and what you can achieve with it. Let's start with what is CPQ. So CPQ stands for Configure Price Quote and includes all activities that are needed to prepare a quote for your complex products and services. And this includes pricing, and this includes quoting and the pricing, obviously. So I think the best way to explain this is by looking at an example on how CPQ is used. So let's go ahead and let's look at the simple process. For this process over here, we use an example, and I copied and pasted a screenshot from Dell. Over here on the left hand side you see this product configurator screenshot. On the right hand side you see the quote form. Now when you look at the configuration part, so it's a complex product or service, as we said, right? So it could have a couple of different attributes. In this case we want to configure a laptop. In this we could say, okay, it has a processor, it has an operating system, it has productivity software, it has security software, it has memory, and a whole bunch of other things. So these are all attributes. And these attributes have different attribute values. So I can select different processors, I can select different operating systems, I can select different memory sizes. So in this case there are always dependencies between these different attributes, and these are locked down as configuration rules in your CPQ tool, in your product configurator. And this helps you to ensure that you have valid products and that whatever you're selecting over here can be built or can be delivered as if it is a service. So when we go through the configurator, we also have the possibility to look at the pricing. Sometimes this happens in the same step. Sometimes you have one step where you configure the product, and the second step you see your prices afterwards. In this case over here it's an e-commerce tool, and it's in one step. So if I make selections for my attributes over here, select different attribute values, I will see my price change over here. There are generally two different flavors of this. The one flavor is I'm an unnamed account, so I'm on a website, I didn't log on with my username or anything, I just go to the website, play around and see what I get. I would most likely get the list price over here. If I have a user account, I use it to log on to see my configuration. I would expect to see previously agreed prices over here, so custom prices. Now when I've done this and I request, for example, a price, a discount that goes beyond what I would usually get, it will trigger an approval request to someone. That could be different people in different regions, make different approvals. But that's usually part of a CPQ tool where you go ahead, you configured your product, you priced the product. Now it requires additional approvals. It routes it to the correct people to provide these approvals. Once everything is approved, I would go ahead and create my quote. And in this quote I also have a bunch of different options. I could have a price which applies to the whole quote. I could have a price shown over here for each and every item line. That's something that can be customized and set up. I think the key point over here is when you look at the flow, it's once I'm ready to configure a product, I go ahead, I can do this configuration, I get my pricing, I get my approvals, and then I have my quote at the end. Now a couple of tools provide functionality that goes beyond this, and this is referred to in most cases right now as quote to cash. We're not looking at this right now. We can look at this another time, but this is a CPQ overview, and therefore we'll focus on the CPQ functionality. So these are the benefits of configure price quote tool. First of all, you want to efficiently share the best practices of your best salespeople so that everyone does it. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The processes are already set. What's working, you already know. You want to use it. You want to automate it as much as possible, and then make sure that your whole team can benefit from this. You also want to increase deal size with cross and upselling. While a lot of you probably know the terms, what it means, I have a slide a little bit later that explains it in a little bit more detail, just in case you're not 100% sure what this is referring to. When you do the automation, you also want to eliminate any errors that are popping up. So, and you want to do this once so that everyone understands what the rules are. The best is if you prevent getting any errors at all. So, and that's the goal with any CPQ tool. You want to make sure that the knowledge that you already have is set up and automated, can easily be used and accessed by your sales teams and your channel teams later on. And you create, going to point 4 here, quickly you create accurate quotes and proposals as well. When you do this all faster, and you also eliminate a lot of errors, then you have potentially more time. This more time would allow you to close more deals. Now, these are the benefits the way I put them down. They are put down in a couple of different flavors on other sites, but I think the final objectives are the same across all these different sites wherever you go. This is really what you hope to achieve with a CPQ process and a CPQ tool. Now, when you look at the software and especially when you look at the tool part, how can you get these tools today? There is a cloud-based version of CPQ tools which becomes more and more popular because you can connect from any device at any time from anywhere. They have subscription or usage-based pricing models. 2 examples pretty popular right now, especially with Salesforce.com, is Aptus and Steelbricks, since they both received some funding from Salesforce. On the other side, you have on-premise software, which has been around for quite some time. It's more secure than cloud-based software in general. It has a different pricing model. It's more a per user license model. And good examples for this one would be the SAP Variant Configurator or Oracle Configurator. Now, both can be right. It depends on what you want to do with your CPQ tool. So you have to really look what is the right thing for you. So do not follow the buzzwords and just look at cloud-based solutions and only look at a certain subset of solutions. Take the time to find out what you need to make sure you have the right tool for you. And in this slide, you see that the CPQ tool sits right between your customer relationship management and your enterprise resource planning tool. Let's start over here with the customer resource management, customer relationship management system. In this case, you probably create an opportunity. You probably started with a lead. The lead converted to an opportunity. The opportunity becomes at one point where the customer is asking for a quote of specific products. That's when you would usually connect to your CPQ system. I put in Pros. Pros is one of the CPQ vendors. There's a whole bunch of them. I could have put anyone over there. You go through the process flow we looked at before, and once the quote is out and the customer accepts the quote, then the quote needs to be converted to an order, and that's when you have this interface to your ERP system. So ERP system over here is SAP, it's Oracle, it's a bunch of different vendors, so there's tons of them over there. I just put some examples over here. I also just put one example over here with Salesforce.com, but there are many more vendors out there. Now, a couple of notes concerning the CRM and what native means to Salesforce.com. I think you can read through this. One of the key points I want to mention was that the CPQ tools runs 100% within the confines of Salesforce. So no data leaves the platform, no integration is needed. Your CPQ tool uses your existing data and setup in Salesforce. This is a key point when you think about the previous slide, because you see you have these interfaces to your CRM system, you have your interfaces to your ERP system, order management systems. And in this case, one is already taken care of, because when you're on Salesforce, you use a tool that's native to Salesforce, then this step is gone. Now, this is great if that's what you need, but as I had mentioned earlier, invest a little bit of time to find the right tool for you and see if that's what you really need. If you need it, this is an advantage you should look for. The same applies over here to the security rules. The CPQ tool shares the security settings from Salesforce. Look at more benefits over here. I've put in some links over here. There's another article over here which shows what are different vendors, who is on their up and who is on their downswing. And let's move on to the enterprise resource planning nodes. The important thing over here is you need to think about the data integration from the CPQ tool to your ERP system. In this case, when the quote is converted to an order, you need to send over product data, customer data, shipping data, financial information, and so on. So this needs to be set up. You need to think about it. There is software available that helps you with that, but it's still a consideration you have to take into account. If you, for example, you already have an SAP CRM system and you have an SAP ERP system, then it may be an easier option to use the SAP configurator. But still, it may not be the only option. It may not be what you want to do. Always look for your business requirements and determine what tool you want. But think about this interface as well. It needs to be addressed, and it over here I show you a couple of example data that needs to be integrated between the CPQ and the ERP system. Now I'm using a couple of terms over here that I mentioned on previous slide. The guided selling is a set of questions to get you to a product. When you think about the screenshot I showed you earlier, that was really a specialist user interface, because in this case you already need to know the product, the attributes of the product, and what attribute values mean to you. So in this case, when I look at an example over here, I could say, I don't know what it is. I'm looking for a printer. I want to print 20 pages a day. I would prefer ink, and I would like to limit my spending per month to around $200. So what kind of printer can you recommend? When I put these questions together, the CPQ tool can recommend tools to you and help you find your product based on these questions. And that is really what guided selling is. Upsell, most of you probably know. I go very quickly through it. It is, you configure when we looked at the laptop before, we would go ahead, we would take the laptop and I find the next best laptop, and I would promote this laptop instead of the one that you have right now, and would give you the reasons for it. This is something that might help increase your revenue, right? So, and the same is true for cross-selling. It's also a revenue generator. As you're selling a certain product, another product goes with it, so propose it. In this case, you can think about the laptop again, and you would propose a mouse with the laptop, or a bag for that laptop. So in this case, again, you see what the customer is looking for, you see what else they could be interested in, and you can put in some guidance in the tool on what you want to do concerning upsell or cross-sell, and certainly also the guided selling. Now the following provides you an overview now of the different vendors that are out there, because now you know what CPQ is, you know what the benefits are of using it, you know where it sits from a system point of view. Now it would be time to look at what vendors are out there, what should I look for when I look at these vendors, and just have a starting point to start your analysis to see what you may need or to find out a little bit more about the companies that you're interested in. This list is 3 slides. It is sorted alphabetically, though there is no meaning in the sequence over here beside that it's alphabetized. It gives you some information over here. It shows you the vendor, it shows you the vendor size, the website, and the node. Concerning vendor size, you will see a lot of these vendors are smaller companies, 11 to 50 employees. Nevertheless, some of them have very big clients, so you cannot just go by the vendor size. But if you have a large solution, you have certain requirements, you always, I would suggest to keep that in mind to make sure that the solution can be appropriately supported for what you want to do with it. Another thing you may want to keep in mind, you will see that as we go through, different vendors are placed in different regions. Some are focused more on certain industries. Some are focused more on certain capabilities like graphics and 2D, 3D design, CAD integration, and so on. So you have to pre-sort these vendors a little bit for what you want to do with them, and then you can take the investigation from there. As I go through, I give you some short highlights about each and every vendor. And if you have any questions, then shoot us a message at info@novuscpq.com. Okay, let's start with Aptus. That's a name probably everyone knows. It's funded by Salesforce. It has grown dramatically over the last couple of years. They have started with a contract lifecycle management solution and then went on to look at configure, price, quote, and have extended this to quote to cash solution. So they have the whole spectrum. It is based on salesforce.com. If that's the environment that you're looking at, then maybe that's a company you want to look at. Axonom, they are focus on graphics software, considerably smaller outlet than Aptus before. They have a configurator tool that eases you into the graphic configuration. They can start with a plain configuration, then a 2D and 3D configuration, all on the same platform. They have some big customers, very powerful capabilities, focus on complex manufacturing. If that's something you're interested in, then maybe you want to look at them. Atladel Software, another company that's focused on graphics. They have also grown quite a bit. They are based on the East Coast. They have, in the size-wise, they are right between the first two that we have over here. They have engineer-to-order capabilities. They have a couple of other things. Very nice graphics. So if that's something that you need, then this is a company you should check out. AG2 Technologies, they have done some work for a large office company. It's a smaller company over here. It's not the traditional CPQ solution, so that's why I left this open. But if you want to learn a little bit more about their specific solution, go to the website over here. Blueprint CPQ is a company based in the UK, also a smaller company, not very common in the US, but they have a CPQ solution over here. Check out the link, check them out on LinkedIn as well. The next company over here is probably much more familiar name-wise, Calidus Cloud. They have quite a size. They have a pretty good product offering in the CPQ space. They also have commissions management, and if, for example, you want to see commissions for your sales reps in the CPQ tool and you have both modules from Calidus, then this is a solution you want to look into probably. Syncom, same size company. They also have CPQ solution and document solution. Configure One has a CPQ and an e-catalog software solution. Check this out. Configurator is also a smaller company, so all these three are a little bit smaller. It's a CPQ solution over here. Config Air has a 2D, 3D graphic solution which goes on top of the SAP configurator. They have done some work for some fairly big clients successfully, And if you know the SAP configurator and you see their tool, you wouldn't recognize it. So if that's something that you're interested in, you might want to check them out. CloudSense is a company based in the UK. They are focused on telecommunication. They also have CPQ and quote to cash options. That's a company you can also check out at Dreamforce, at Salesforce events. Let's go to Config IT. They have a whole spectrum of solutions, also CLM, CPQ, SAP integrations. Check it out if that's something that you're looking for. Endeavor CPQ, they have a configurator which is focused on complex manufacturing, and they have a CPQ and a quote to cash solution. They are based in Texas. And they have an interesting feature on their website also. They have an ROI calculator. If you're wondering what kind of return on investment would I get from a configurator, this may be something that you want to check out. Expert Logic, that's if more on the Microsoft and NetSuite side, the CPQ solution. If that's something you're interested in, check this out. FPX has been around for quite some time. They have a CPQ solution. They also announced in SAP partnership around the same time as Dreamforce was this year in 2015. So if that's something that you're looking for, check this out. Info CPQ, they have their own set of solutions. It's a large company, obviously 10,000 plus. They have a CRM, ERP, and CPQ solution. So if you live in this world, then you should check this out. IBM has their own, the Sterling solution over here. That's a CPQ solution. If you're interested in this, check this one out. KB Max, another graphics configuration company that has a lot of capabilities in this area. Also, if the graphic requirement is something important to you, check them out as well. Lumo Graphics falls into the same bucket over here with the graphics. This company is based out of Germany. So if you're looking into this, check these out. Liquid Frameworks, that's something that's more for the oil and gas industry. They have grown tremendously over the last years. They still expect big growth going forward. The special thing about them, if I can say that, is they have an online and an offline configurator. Most companies we look at on these slides, they only have an online version, which is sufficient for most purposes, but in some industries and for some purposes, it is important to have an offline configurator. And they have one for the oil and gas industry. So if field operations, if that's something important to you, then that may be something you want to check out. More on the life sciences side, you have Model N with their Revi CPQ. They also offer revenue management solutions for tech companies. They have the CPQ solutions. They showed an interesting connection to SAP at Dreamforce 2015. So if you live in the SAP world and you want to have a configurator that you can use for this one, so then Revi may be a product you want to check out. This one over here you probably all know. In 2013, Big Machines was acquired by Oracle. They rebranded it. It is now Oracle CPQ Cloud. It has a lot of capabilities. They added a lot to it. They have a big team. They can probably do a lot, especially in the complex manufacturing area as well. Check this out if that's something that you're interested in. A vendor that also falls into the CPQ bucket, even though they are a little bit different than the other ones we looked at so far, is Quozel. Quozel has pretty strong quote capabilities. They have some functions in there that are pretty impressive. You have to check out their website to see what they can all do. It's they have a CPQ solution and the quote. That's why I have pointed it out over here. They have some special things over there. QuoteWorks is a smaller company. Over here they have a CPQ solution, SteelBrick, very similar to Aptus, what we mentioned before. They are also funded by Salesforce. Instead of branding them as the enterprise solution, they're rebranding them as the solution for everyone who's not enterprise just yet. That's SteelBrick. They have CPQ, they have quote to cash. They are still expanding, they're still growing, and I think we will hear more from SteelBrick in the future. So then we have the SAP configurators. They have been around for a long time. SAP has been very active in this one over here. You see they have a range of different products, a range of different partnerships. If that is something that you're interested in the SAP world, then this is something you should definitely check out. Determine, that's the former Selectica. They have also a CLM and a quote to cash solution. If you're also interested in the CLM and see how that works with the potential quote to cash solution, you may want to check them out. Sigma Systems as a configurator for the telecommunication industry. So if telecommunication is something for you, check this out. You could, similar to what I mentioned before with CloudSense, right? You have Sophon over here, which also have a CRM and a CPQ solution. Then a vendor out of Sweden, Tacton. They have been around also for over 20 years. They have 3D capabilities, CPQ engineer to order. They have also specialized on the complex manufacturing industry. So and they are mostly in Europe, but I would expect that they will expand to the US at one point. So if this complex manufacturing is something you're interested in, you should check out Tacton as well. Veluto is a small company out of Israel. They have a CPQ solution. They have not been officially at Dreamforce so far. I've seen a demo of the tool. I think it's pretty flexible. It provides a lot of capabilities, so I would expect that these guys will show up more and more over the coming months and years as well in the US. You will see a lot of their marketing materials also on Twitter and LinkedIn. Check it out if you have a chance. Then another vendor which is in the complex manufacturing space, and they are now focusing a little bit more on NetSuite, but they have other solutions as well, as Verenia. So they have a lot of very experienced CPQ team members on their team. They know what they do. They have been doing it for quite some time. They do it successfully. So if that's something that you are interested in, complex manufacturing, check them out. They are on this side. And this concludes our configure price quote overview for today. Thank you very much for staying with us. Our contact information is on the site. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us. Also make sure to check our growing CPQ resources page. Again, thank you very much for hanging with us for the last 30 minutes.